so glad that it is summer. How about you all? I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to preach to a certain group of people today. And you will know who you are as we get into this subject. We're going to talk about a weekly schedule and how to reach them that. I don't know about you guys, but this is a typical discussion that Nova and I have during the school year. See, during the school year, it gets a little bit crazy around our house. I don't know about you guys, but we have ball practice, choir practice, we have church activities, we have doctor's appointments, we have school. My wife's going to school full time. I have all my treatments we have to have happening. So in our schedule, we have this beautiful thing on our phones that keeps our calendar. Now, some of you all that are older, you do not understand the blessing that this is, but those really younger, you know what I'm talking about. We have our phone set up, my wife and I, that we all, when we put an appointment, it goes to both of our phones, and we've got it set to give us alerts and updates continually when something changes within a few hours. And then typically what happens is if I were to pull up my phone, you would see my schedule blocked out with this immense amount of things going on, especially during the school year. We've got to be, I have to wake up this time, I have to go to treatment by this time, we have to make sure we have the kids to school at 3 different times, we have to make sure that the oldest girls are up by 5:45 so they can get on the bus by 6:40, so that we wake the next kids up at 7:15 so they can be ready so we get to school by 8:20, so that my wife can be in class by 9 o'clock. In the meantime, I've gotten up at 4 o'clock to go to dialysis at 5 o'clock so I can get done by 10 o'clock. So that by the time I'm done with that by 11 o'clock, I can pick up one of my kids to take to the doctor's office because one of them we're going to have to go to the doctor for business because I got 5 almost every single week. In the meantime, if I'm lucky, we try to squeeze in a lunch for Nova and I so we're in the midst of that before we come in and do some other things. Then we have our evening activities and the afternoon activities and helping out with the school system. Then we have the whole pickup time to take them all up to different kids before they go to different therapies in the afternoon. And at some point during the evening, we try to feed them, if we're lucky, get them bathed, sing a few songs, do a couple prayers, and pray that we can get to bed before it starts again. And that's our typical day during the school year. And our typical discussion is this. I can't do that today. Why wasn't it on the calendar? Well, because it just came up, but you didn't put it on the calendar. So what are we going to do now? We can't both be at 3 different places at one time. Well, who's going to sacrifice? What kid doesn't get to go to the doctor? What person doesn't get to do the activity they want? And who's not going to do something? And this is our weekly, every single week, no night discussion. Or my favorite is that I put it in 2 hours before it happens. And she goes, it wasn't on the calendar, and I go, oh, second minute. It was. It doesn't say when I put it in, it shows it was in there. And this is our discussion, and it's devastating us continually. And I know that some of you are in the same situation, you are extremely busy. Even if you don't have kids, you can be extremely busy. Grandparents, how many different activities, how many different grandkids are you going to try to be at the same time in 1 week? Right? And it gets crazy. And I love it so much. We went to our discussion on being in show choir. She's like, I'm going to not try to cover all your time. We only need this few days. We only need this many practices. And we got in our car, and my girls are panic going, what sport do I need to give up so I can get things done? Because I can't be practicing this, and this, and this, and this. And I was like, she said, she worked with you. No, I need to be dedicated to something. And schedules get really conflicting. They get really hard. And to say the least, I would say the majority of you all are very busy people. Most of the people that I talk to here have a lot going on all the time. And we literally, it's not like, hey, can we get together this weekend? Let me check my schedule and see what few hours I have open that maybe you and I could do something in a 2-hour window. But I want you to know something. I want you to understand that God called busy people to the service. And here's what I mean by that. Moses was busy checking out his flock before. God called him. Gideon was busy threshing wheat in the wine press when God called him. David was busy caring for his father's sheep. Saul was busy searching for his father's lost beasts. Elijah was busy plowing the 12 yoke of oxen. Nehemiah was busy getting his wine on for the king. Amos was busy following the flock and raising sycamore fruits. Peter and Andrew were busy tending to their nets and catching out for fish. James and John were busy mending their nets. Matthew was busy collecting taxes. And Saul was busy persecuting Jesus' friends. All these greats in the Bible were all busy. They all had a lot of things going on. And every one of us are going to continually fall into this. And there's something that God establishes at the very beginning that we really need to seriously consider in our lives. And I want you to understand that we need to find Sabbath rest. That's right, I'm going to preach a good message today. You should rest. Look, in Genesis chapter 2, it says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. Now here's where we get into a little bit of a dilemma as we start to look at the scripture, we start to think about this. Now, we've been told that God is an all-powerful God. That there are no limitations for God. So is this scripture saying then that God got wore out? That God was too tired to do anything else? That our God is actually limited on what he can do? Because it says on this day, he rested from all of his work. What do you think? I don't think so. Here's what I think, and here's the reason why I think it. Just a second. I think that God, when we see this day of rest, took a break from what he was doing every day. God took a break from what he was accomplishing every day and redirected himself to feel a different kind of energy. But not only to do that, but to show us the importance of us doing the same thing. Here's the reason why I think that. Look at John. This is what it said in John. So, because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders began to persecute him. See, the Jewish leaders had come to Christ, and they were upset with him because on this day of rest, he was taking and he was healing people. And he was doing God's work on his day of rest. And they said, you can't do that. That's wrong. The Sabbath is holy. The Sabbath means don't do anything. The Sabbath is sacred. It means don't. It doesn't mean do. In his defense, Jesus said to them, my Father is what? Always. My Father, except for on Sabbath days we have rest. I don't read that there. My Father is always at his work. To this very day, I too am working. What that tells me is that God is not a God that gets tight. God is not a God that, that was just too much for me today. Now, I'm the person that's that. You'll hear me say that, wow, I've done a little bit too much for today, I got to slow it down. But that's not my God. And Jesus makes it very clear that it's not. So then, why in the world do we have this idea of rest? And what I think it is that God understood that if we continue to burn the candle at both ends, if we don't give ourselves some kind of a relief, we burn out. Isn't that true? You can only go for so long before you get frustrated and you get burnt out, right? You know, I see Susie here, she's able to be back, and we talked for a long time. You're okay, don't mind, Grace, I'm glad that you're here. See, God, it seems like I work 7 days a week for weeks and weeks and weeks trying to get caught up, and they couldn't find other people to help me work. And I would talk to her, and she's like, I couldn't talk to you for the last 3 or 4 days because I've not been off to work. I didn't even have time to take care of certain things. I'm finally getting back to you. It's like, really, how you doing? I'm still working 7 days a week. And it'll burn you out. And you can't do it. We need to understand that when we see the word Sabbath, when we talk about it today, we're talking about a change in routine. We're talking about a change in routine. What I'm calling for is you guys to be aware of what's going on in your life right now. Be aware of how busy things are and how much you can set things into motion and understand that you need to set a break in there. And that break needs to include God. There needs to be a break in your pattern. I understand that the ball games are important. And I understand that work is going to ask you to do a lot. And I understand that there's a continual thing on your schedule. But we really need to stop and look at our schedule. And we need to invest in time with God. So what does that look like? That's what we're going to talk about today. I would love to tell you that I've got all the answers for you, and I can give you a dedicated amount of time on a certain time of the day, but your schedule and my schedule are not the same. We don't look alike in that, and some of you all, you're kind of like, I'm going to talk about I'm retired. Every day is a good day. We're not talking to you today. Just let you know, we're not talking to you today. Quit bragging, quit making me feel bad. For the rest of it. In Psalm 84:10 it says, better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. And he brings up this idea of 1,000 days. And I want you to think about that. 1,000 days is almost 3 years. Have you really thought about that when you read the scripture? He says, one day with the Lord is like 3 years of other things. Do you realize in 3 years that you can earn a master's degree? In 3 years? Do you realize in 3 years your kids can go completely through middle school? I mean, you start thinking about 3 years. In 3 years, it's almost a term limit of a president. In 3 years, you can become fluent in almost any language. And in 3 years, you can walk across the United States 5 times if you're a regular person. I'm not talking about a power walker. Okay? I'm talking about just a regular walk. They figured it out. It's actually more than 5. I figured some of you all want to take a break and look at stuff. So 5 times you go from East Coast to West Coast. 3 years. And he says that 24 hours with God is worth that much. And when we stop and we think about our schedule and what's going on, and we think about how much time we give to God, and what an impact that could have. I want you to think about the number of hours in your day, the number of days in your week, and what your schedule looks like for that. Because if you could just think about this, accumulated days worth every month, that's 35 years worth of doing different things in 1 year. You get it. You thought about that? That if you just took, and when we're talking about a day's worth a month, we're talking about less than 1 hour a day, totally dedicated to God. Within 1 year's period, would be the difference of 35, 36 years worth of living anything else. Some of you aren't even that old. Right? We look at this and we think, well, yeah, that's easy for you to say you're the preacher and that's your job and that's what you do for a living is to just spend time with God. My question is there anybody here that is God's schedule so full that you couldn't spend 24 hours with God this month? Does your plan reflect any time with God? I'll be honest with you, and I hate to admit it, if I pull up my phone right now, mine doesn't say time with God. It's got all the appointments. It's got all the things I need to do. It's got my Bible studies. It's got my meetings. It's got everything else in there. But it doesn't have Ryan's time with God. And there time in my life when I was in ministry that I was so active, especially when I was a youth minister, that my schedule literally looked like Bible study with kids on Monday night, meetings on Tuesday night, church on Wednesday night, sometimes with kids activity on Thursday night, either speaking or going to some kind of youth event over the weekend. Every week. Traveled all over the United States, did all kinds of stuff. And never once in there did it include this me time with God. And it's so easy, even for us, some of us in leadership, to fall into the trap of I'm doing the Lord's work, it's my time with God. And that is not Sabbath rest. Continuing to do what you've always been doing in a different format is not Sabbath rest. Well, I'm not at work today. I'm just working on work today. I'm taking a break today. I'm only going to 3 different kids' games. I'm taking a break today because I'm going to go and I'm going to take care of all the stuff that I need to whenever I actually take a day off to have some time off. That's not taking Sabbath rest. See, we need to give God our schedule instead of trying to work into our schedule. And that's hard for us. That's hard for us to surrender our day planners, to surrender our phones and say, God, you come first. God, what do you need from me this week? God, what priority do you want me to have this week? God, where do you need me to go? What do you need me to do? See, we have this incredible God that loves us dearly and cherishes everything about us, who only wants the best for us, who knows that we're going to be living inside this world taking care of our needs. He doesn't tell us to highway power from our responsibilities, but rather to live for Him the fullest. That in everything that we do, be His ambassador. That we still do our work. We still live in our community. We still are a part of those around us. Our kids are still have the ability to be in their sports and their different activities. But first and foremost is God. And before I plan anything in my schedule, before I do anything in my planner, I look at it and go, God, this week is yours. Lead me, Lord, on where you need me to go. And I know that sounds scary and it sounds difficult. Thank goodness it's summertime. Because it's easier to do it and start it now than it is in the chaos of the fall. And my challenge to you is to start looking into this idea. Look at Luke 2. Every year, in this story, Jesus and his parents have gone down to the time every year into Jerusalem. And they're here for the Passover festival. And Jesus is just a young boy now. And every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went to the festival, according to the custom. After the festival was over, while the parents were returning home, the boys didn't stay behind in Jerusalem, but they were unaware. And truly, this is a situation where there's a schedule to be kept. And I'm pretty sure Joseph was A.J. full dad. And when I say that, it is me on this. We have a trip, there's a certain time we leave. There's a certain time we need to get there, a certain speed we need to go. There's only going to take a certain number of stops because I don't want to be longer than a half beat. And I am watching my time to see if I make better time than last. And I guarantee you, Joseph's over there, he's got the animals ready, everything's packed. He's like, hey, 6 a.m., we're out. You know how hot it gets. We need to get out of here. We're going. And they're all loading up, and everybody else is leaving. The caravan of people are going back home. And he's like, hey, I'm not going to be in the back. You remember a few years ago when we were in the back three drugs the whole time? I'm not doing that. You know where your boy is? Oh, yeah, I'm sure he's around there somewhere, honey. It's fine. He's with his cousin. Oh, okay, well, let's go. I'm not waiting on you any longer. You'll just have to catch up. Let's go. And they're going. And they're going for a long time. And they stop, and he's like, have you seen me? No. I'll go look around. It's water break time. He's not around. And now Dad is ticked. And you know why? lose time. He's messed up his whole schedule. I mean, he's got wood he needs to be whittling. He's got stuff to be doing as a carpenter. He's got supplies he needs to be taking care of when he gets back. There's probably other animals back at the house he's got to take care of. And he is irritated that his son is gone. His wife is scared. He's mad. Okay, and you know what I'm talking about, man. You know what I'm talking about. I can remember one time when we were kids, we were going to, as a youth group, we stopped at a gas station on the way on this long trip. We're in this bus of 30, 40 kids or whatever. And of course, we had to get gas, and we all know this is the time to raid the gas station and get snacks and all the wonderful things of that. Well, in this gas station, there was this beautiful pinball game back in the back corner. And our kid in our youth group named Ralph loved pinball. And you never really saw them anymore because they're kind of rare. And Ralph popped in there and he got his quarters and he started playing pinball. Well, the youth minister, he tells us, hey, it's all time to go. So we're like, all right, we're getting in, we're loading up the bus. He comes around and it's really hard to count kids on a big school bus. Those of you all used to run in the morning on Sunday morning the buses, you know what I'm talking about, right, Ron? Trying to keep everybody in the van or in the bus. Remember how you're on the bus when you're picking them up for Sunday school? And he looks and he kind of goes, that's about right. And he drives off. And we're about 20, 30 miles down the road. And one of his buddies goes, hey, where's Ralph? And so we all start going, hey, where's Ralph? And then our youth was like, oh, that's real funny, guys. Well, he's probably laying down underneath to keep on driving. No, seriously, where's Ralph? And he has to stop and turn the bus around and drive back 30 miles. And Ralph is still on the way. He didn't realize they're over. And I remember how frustrated our business was that he had to go back and how much time it would take. And we look here now at Joseph and Mary coming back for their son. And it says in 47 through 49, when his parents saw him, they probably get back and they've been searching this now. When the parents finally saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, son, why have you treated us like this? I like how she says this, because I'm pretty sure she's like, do you realize what your father has put me through? But she just treated us like this. Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you. And he said to them, I want you to catch this. Why do you seek me? Did you not know that I must be about my father's business? And Jesus says, don't you know that my priority is not how quick we get home? My priority is not anything else but God. When I'm about my father's business, it comes first. And so when we see this, we need to understand that when we talk about the Sabbath this morning, the Sabbath was not made for man, or Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. God didn't make the Sabbath and go, you know, I need a guy that really respect that. He made it for you, and he made it for me. It's important that we understand that that's what it's all about. This break from the norm, this break from what we do every single day, to stop and reflect and give God the glory of what needs to be. Your Sabbath may not look like my Sabbath. For some of you all, you're looking for this. Your Sabbath may be out on the pond fishing and having one-on-one time with God. Because it's not what you get to do. You see God's glory. Your Sabbath may be sitting down and sewing a project for somebody else and you don't ever really get to do. As you sit and you think about God and you take a different direction. Your Sabbath may be getting out those golf clubs or those frisbees and taking a day when you've been so busy doing everything else and stopping the norm and changing it up and spending time with God doing something else. See, I don't think God meant for the Sabbath to be for us to sit in one place in our recliner, not moving and not doing anything. It's not in our nature. It's for us to change what we're doing, to remember who we are, and remember what God is doing. homeless and he was really in desperate need. And he's walking through and he goes over this bridge and there's this man standing on this bridge and he's fishing. And he's got this bucket full of fish. I mean, he's had a killer fishing day. And the poor homeless guy comes up to me and says, "Whew, that sure is a lot of fish. Man, I know what I'd do if I had all that fish. I'd take it to the store and I'd sell it. I'd get myself something to eat. I'd have a place to stay and maybe give me a new pair of shoes." Boy, that's some nice fish. Right about that time, the guy who's fishing's phone rings. And it's an important call, and he goes, "Hold on a second." He looks at the homeless guy and goes, "Hey, I'll tell you what." He says, "Here's my pole. They've been hitting like crazy. Here's an extra bucket. Everything you catch while I'm on this phone call is yours. You can borrow my stuff." The homeless guy goes, "Deal. Sounds great." The guy walks off about 30, 40 yards, and he's having this long conversation. It's really important. Spends about an hour on the phone. He comes back, and the homeless guy, he's sitting there, and he's got his own bucket full of fish. I mean, he's been catching fish like crazy. And he's like, "Wow, look at all these fish." He goes, "Phew. If I could only fish like this every day, I wouldn't be poor anymore." The guy that was on the phone, he hangs up, and he says, "You know what? You want to fish like this, start putting it in the line." That's all you got to do. And I'm telling you, church, if you want to have a schedule that reflects the Sabbath, if you want to have a schedule that reflects more time with God, if you want to put that 24 hours into your month, then start fishing. Because the only one that's stopping you from filling yourself is yourself. It's not me, it's not your neighbor, it's not your work, it's not your schedule, it's you. See, we need to understand something. If I were to bring up here 2 really tall glasses, and they were clear, and I could set them up here on the table, and I poured 1 ounce of water in one and nothing in the other, I would say, which glass is full? Which glass is empty? And you would look at them and you'd say, well, they're both empty. You're right. Because if you don't pour God into you, and you call that 1 ounce that you pour in filling yourself, then you're fooling yourself. God calls for you to be filled with Him. God says the more abundantly you fill Him into you, the more He will flow out of you. And the question this morning is this, is that when people are looking at your glass, when you self-examine your glass today, is it empty? Does it need to be filled? Is it time to take it over to the tap that is God and start filling it again? Because there's nothing more refreshing than pure water. And He's offering it to you today. Like I said, I know some of you all, scheduling is no longer an issue. But let's talk to you now. You have all the time in the world. How full is your cup? You're not working anymore. How full is your cup? Are you taking the time to be close with God? Do you have your 24 hours in? If not, it's not too late to start. What a perfect time this summer when schedules have died down to start giving it to God and see where God takes you. Oh, it's hard. But remember what Jesus said? Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. If you want to have a deeper relationship with Him, ask Him. Look for it. And God will open it. We can help you this morning in any way. We allow us to do that. Please stand.